Okay, now we're recording. Hi, everyone. So was having a little bit of difficulty going live. So this is going to be a wonderful, fun, recorded video with my amazing guest, BJ Walters. And this is such a special, amazing human. We met a few years ago, back several lifetimes ago, several career choices ago. And it's so fun to have him here on LinkedIn because he's going to talk about how he's built his personal brand across several different platforms. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I realized these were the lengths you went to keep me away from the live audience, you know? So now we have the magic of the edit. I need to put a clock behind me so you can see when if it's moving around here. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Goldie. I appreciate it.
Now, we're going to keep true to the live streaming ethos, and I'm not going to edit this. So we just started. We're going to go all the way through to the end.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. So we have so many great questions to go through. And the first one is, I'm going to ask you to flex a little bit because I know you have some fun Zoom backgrounds. So...
Before I drop my weird flex, which again, believe me, I'm very excited to do. I would just point out two things. Branding is me knowing that I was coming here with you, and this was the can that I brought with me here. And also, Goldie was the first person to ever give me a major signal boost when I was first getting started. The first person ever to try and boost me and put my stuff out there was you, again, many lifetimes ago. So I appreciate that, and I will never forget that you were the first person to hype me. So thank you so very much for that still. And apparently it works.
And it worked. But I think it's because you have such a strategic mind, and that's what I wanted to talk about today, which is how you decided which platforms to strategically build your personal brand on. Because it's not every single platform, right? You picked a few and you really focus the majority of your effort on those platforms. And I think that's something really important for everyone in the audience who's wondering how to build your brand, whether it's in, of course, the gaming, the nerd industry, or it's outside of that industry. The principles are the same.
Yes. And you and I talk about these kind of things at length and enjoy it. And every time I'm like, why can't we just turn on a camera? Because we're leaving gems on the floor here. And it's funny, now that I'm completely getting your program out of order, which again, you knew what I was when you brought me on here. I was showing her before we began my random flexes. Like this is a video game character from one of my shows who just went live in this game, Idle Champions, last week. So I'm in a video game. That's a thing. An achievement.
It's so impressive that you were in a video game. But second of all, even more impressive is that your background moves.
See, I am a professional, Goldie.
You are a professional. Oh my gosh.
Some people are just trapped here. I'm here. That's me. That is what I am in this world. Yeah, and I was also showing that I did a promo for a graphic novel that we had funded on Kickstarter, I guess almost a month ago now. And this was my little promo piece that we had made, which is not at all self-indulgent to have my commercial spot playing behind me here.
But you also have, just because let's get all the promos out of the way, you have something else coming in a month, right?
This, I'm not sure when the people will see this, but I'm saying this out loud to you for the first time now. I am going to be doing more crowdfunding for a documentary that I want to do called Dear America from a Black Guy, which is a series of articles and videos I've done over recent years, just trying to bridge the significant gap that exists between some people in our country right now, and just trying to get back to a place where we can sort of talk to each other with respect, even if we don't agree. I think all of us agreeing is not really in the cards. I think we all see that, but at least where we can acknowledge just the basic humanity of the other person sitting on the other side of the table. So I think even that's lacking right now. So trying to use my powers for good in this case. And it's interesting how, and that's going to be on Indiegogo. So you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at bdavewalters. I'm at bdavewalters on all the platforms, honestly, and I'll be posting the links and all those things. You can see it, take a look, support if you can, signal boost even if you can't. And yeah, hopefully it'll make a difference. To your question about choosing the platforms, I never do anything at random. And anything that I do, I enjoy the theory crafting of it and the strategy of it as much as anything. And like I told you, when we met, the day we met, when I first set foot in the studio, I literally knew that day exactly what my plan was, exactly what I was going to do.
I will quickly interrupt because not everyone who follows me on LinkedIn knows this, but I briefly worked at Legendary Digital Entertainment, which was home to two different brands, Nerdist and Geek and Sundry. And what they did is they focused on Twitch shows, Twitch and YouTube content around the gaming nerd culture. So that's actually how we met.
I would just like the record to show I wasn't going to bust you out like that. Like, we don't answer to our slave names anymore, Goldie. But yes, that is true. Yes, so we met specifically in the context of me first breaking into the streaming space. And that was where I got my much needed signal boost from you. Yeah, I knew what the plan was then. I knew exactly what I was trying to accomplish in the streaming space, and I did it. And I think the number one thing that you have to be aware of, for my money, when you talk about a personal brand, is just your reputation. What do you want to be known as? You know, when somebody says your name, what comes to mind? You know,
right?
And depending what that is, that may be a better fit to live in one place or two places or 10 places or all of the places. If you're like, my brand is I'm the best wood carver on YouTube, okay, then clearly that's where you sort of need to live and focus all your efforts. If you're like, I'm the best wood carver on social media, that's a different thing. I'm the best wood carver on the internet is a different thing. I'm the best wood carver on earth is a different thing of where you need to put your attention and your effort to build up your reputation. And then second to that, I would say always understand why. You know, what is it that, why do you want to be known as that? What's the point in it? What are you trying to accomplish? For me, even though I exist in so many spaces, I mean, right now, literally right now, at this exact second, I'm somewhere doing something 7 days a week. I run 6 to 10 Patreon games. I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 streaming shows currently, and that's not all of them. Some of them are on hiatus. I am on the writing team for Werewolf the Apocalypse V5. I'm on another project that I think is unannounced right now. Again, I have the aforementioned graphic novel that I myself did, and I'm crowdfunding for a documentary. And while it seems like these things are all disparate and have no connection whatsoever, there is one guiding principle in literally everything I do, which sounds more grandiose than I mean it to, but it's true. My guiding principle is reducing human suffering, because life is difficult, life is painful, life is stressful. It always has been, and it's even more so now. So to me, if my comic book can take someone on an adventure, or a film that I write, or a stream that I host, or a game that I run for them to play can help that person take their mind off their troubles for a time, then I'm doing my job and I'm serving my purpose. Maybe to help you feel like maybe life's not so bad. Maybe you're not so bad. Maybe you're not crazy for feeling how you feel. When you understand that, that's like the Rosetta Stone to understand all the things that I do and why I do them. But that is the strategy of it. Tactically, I do things literally every day people would tell you never to do. But I make it work because it makes sense for me and what I'm trying to build. And I'm gonna stop monologuing long enough for you to say something, because you are the star of this show.
Well, you are definitely the star of the show. You are a guest on here. And I think it is so important. One of the things that you said is that it's all interconnected and you have a singular purpose for why you are creating this content, why you are involving yourself in projects or spearheading projects. And I think that is one of the things that people always overlook that's so common sense, which is if you want your brand to be something, you build your brand in that direction. If you want to be known for XYZ, you build your brand in the direction towards XYZ so people will understand who you are.
Yep.
And why you are.
Yeah. The intentionality of it is key. I think a lot of times people think I'm just going to show up and do something and kind of let people make up their own mind. And it's like, no, not at all. Actually, don't do that. You know, I mean, obviously they're going to make up their own mind in the sense of whether or not something is to their taste, you know, or it's like that Dita Von Teese quote that I'm paraphrasing is you can be the biggest, juiciest peach in the world, but there's still going to be people that don't like peaches.
Don't like peaches or allergic to peaches.
Exactly. I'm like, yes, some people are allowed to have bad taste. But yeah.
I totally agree. I think that it's so important that when we think about our brands that we really understand where and how all these pieces come together. So while you say it might be creating multiple projects on Twitch or on LinkedIn, these different projects that might look very different all have a common thread, right?
Mm-hmm. And to me, it's a wide funnel too. There's lots of places to hop on the B-Dave train. And there's lots of cars in that train, and some people leave out of one and, you know, don't want to go into another one, or etc. Like, I've seen a huge increase in my following in about the last month or so, as I've been so vocal about Black Lives Matters and the George Floyd protests and all of these things. And a lot of those people that are coming on board that now know me primarily as that, every once in a while, I'm kind of like, you know, I'm usually not this person, at least not this person so often. You know, like I'm usually talking about movies and geek stuff and gaming.
Well, that's why I think it's so fun to have you on right now talking about how you think about your brand, because I don't think people understand that you are so thoughtful also, love it, with your brand and with what the things that you obviously care about, but that you once again were really strategic with how you got here to this moment in time.
Well, I mean, I had a difficult situation, I guess 2 years ago now, which I actually talked to you about at the time when I was first getting into patreon.com/B-Dave Walters. I knew because, you know, my background is traditional marketing, you know, which became digital marketing because digital marketing became a thing during my time. I've been at this about 20 years. And I knew that if I wanted to theoretically have the best option or the best chance, I would do a very specific, like very highly focused thing. And I knew that's not what I wanted to do. My nature is I am good at a lot of things. I am interested in a lot of things. I'm comfortable in a lot of different worlds. And when you get into things like social media or YouTube or writing a book or most anything, for the most part, the more refined your niche is optimal. Or even more so, if you find two things you're good at and where those overlap, that's your niche and you can really make a meaningful difference there. But I knew, to me, all of these things are still a part of me. So I made a very conscious choice that when I put my presence out there, I very much was like, I'm a person, I'm a diamond with many facets, was how I would describe it. That is like, yeah, you might see me in this community talking about martial arts, and in this community talking about filmmaking, and in this community talking about spirituality, but it's all still me, all around that same one guiding principle. And I just sort of like tripled down on that. Now, the reality of the situation is my following is definitely larger in some areas than others, but you know, those are champagne problems, really. But I've set the stage in such a way that I get to be authentically me in a way that people can follow along with. And it's because I built that foundation that I could be the geeky game guy that's like posting about Dungeons and Dragons and like wholesome memes and things, and then the very next day spitting very hot fire about systemic racial injustice, because the audience has come to expect that I'm going to say what needs to be said. Yeah,
well,
right.
And I think it's good that you've primed your audience
Mm-hmm.
to expect a variety of different subjects from you, but that it comes across as authentically, realistically, genuinely you in all of those cases, right? You're not putting anything on. It's not shocking people that you are suddenly talking about your experiences in this world, in America specifically. But on top of that, you're talking about all these games that you are running and things like that. So I find it also just fascinating, the ecosystem that exists between, say, a Patreon, which is for those who don't know, a crowdfunding platform, but a Patreon plus a Twitch, which is a live streaming platform, plus Twitter, which you are not necessarily going to get people who are donating to your Patreon off of Twitter, but it's another venue that's great for marketing. And there's a
wide funnel
system here. Yeah, it's a funnel.
You know what it is? It's authenticity is just key. It really, people have very finely honed BS detectors. You think they don't, but they do. People can smell a rat, largely. People can smell a rat. And if you're pretending to be something that you're not, they will know. At least the people that really are that will know.
Right.
So I would say, while you are in the process of building and refining your brand, because it is an ongoing process, continually work to be the person that you want to be and to be perceived as the person that you actually are. Because it was another Stephen Covey quote that is, and I'm paraphrasing this one, is one of the worst things is to climb the ladder of success and find it was leaning against the wrong wall.
So good. So good.
Goldie and I have, we've known each other like 3 years and change, 3-ish years. And both of our paths have changed like a lot.
I mean, it's basically like 300 years, I think it's fair to say.
It is. Like, time is a flat circle, like I reject linear time along with pants and all the other lies of the before times, And I mean,
yeah, I think that there's just so much, that rides on you developing a brand in the wrong direction, right? So what makes me nervous is when I meet people who want to be influential, but only for the sake of just being an influencer, ... And let me tell you, if you are just vaguely an influencer, for some people, yes, of course it does work, right? There are always exceptions to the rule.
Yep.
But if you find yourself that people just know you but know nothing about you and know nothing about your purpose or what you want to do, or quite frankly, even what you do for a living, which is usually what we want to be known for, what we can be hired to do, like a writer, like an amazing creative, I'm pointing. We want people to know those things so that way they know to hire us in those different contexts. And so that is helpful.
Have you seen Hamilton?
Of course.
I just saw it Saturday, so it's fresh off the dome. I'm like, I don't know if this counts as a spoiler because it really happened in real life, but there is that. I'll be vague. There's that scene where the choice is between two men.
Yes.
And the answer is, well, I disagree with that one constantly, but at least he stands for something. Give me that guy than this lukewarm dude that just like no one knows anything about.
I think it's so helpful, and I think this will be the last thing we talk about before we sign off, but I think it's so helpful to have an opinion on something as a personal brand. Having opinions, and of course, this is maybe where we'll disagree, but having opinions, especially in the business world, that are at least a neutral plus, right? You want to be at least a neutral plus. Sometimes you don't want to be all the way into the fiery depths, right? Because that's inappropriate for work. But we want to at least be in the neutral plus zone.
I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, Goldie. I mean, some of us only exist in these places. But it's trying to appeal to everyone is a recipe for appealing to no one. Again, it's a Bible verse. You are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, and I spit you out. People would rather you take a stand because at least they know what side who you are, because
Who you
again,
are.
trying to appeal to everyone is appealing to no one. And the point of this also is not that you have to be hyper socially active or hyper political or hyper cause aligned, because that may not be who you are as a human, which is fine. But it is true, don't veil your passion, because that's what makes you stand out, and that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you vibrant and wonderful, and the one and only you. We live in such a wondrous time now that we all have the capacity to define ourselves, which was not true mere years ago. Like as little as 5, maybe 10 or more, like that just wasn't what it was.
But
The
we have
fact-
social media now to totally interrupt you. So change the game.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, in I will just say also, if you're not familiar with it, there's a concept known as 1,000 loyal fans. You really just need 1,000 people that are going to support you in the thing that you do and the art that you create, and you can build a career off of that. You don't need hundreds of thousands and millions of people. Although obviously it's great if you have that, but to be able to sustain yourself while speaking your truth and following your bliss, I would just say, to bring this all back to Goldie and her being incredible, is you should listen very carefully to the things she says, because she has actually lived it and continues to live it and has lived it repeatedly, has had the bravery and wisdom and foresight to go through the process of reinvention of herself and her image and her brand, and continue to evolve and will continue to evolve. And that's what it takes to both be successful and to stay relevant, and more importantly, to be able to enjoy the journey and the process, and hopefully find some happiness along the way, because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
And I think finding your tribe, so just to add the last bit of wisdom to that, just finding your tribe at the end of the day. And I'm so glad that you are all meeting a member of my tribe today. So please follow him on Twitter, on Twitch, on Patreon, on LinkedIn, on every single, I know you're on Facebook too. I know you're on Instagram.
Literally on everywhere.
On everywhere. Follow him, listen to him. He has lots of wisdom and amazing insight to share, but also is just a super fun, cool, creative human who mixes creative and business. And with that, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.